Botswana is a world-renowned wildlife tourism destination, attracting hundreds of thousands of tourists each year, all keen to see and interact with elephants on their tour. Virtually an elephant-based economy. Ecologically, Botswana's elephant population is extremely important as an integral component of the country's rich biodiversity. However, their current numbers are calculated to be in excess of 150,000 animals, almost 3 times the estimated carrying capacity of elephants for their habitat in the country. These excessive numbers have the potential of dramatically modifying large areas of wildlife habitat, which in turn reduces biodiversity in those areas. Increasingly, however, communities are reporting serious incidents of human-elephant conflict at levels never previously experienced. Elephants are forced to expand their home ranges into areas of dense human settlement, contesting water resources, destroying subsistence crops, killing and injuring people as a result of their increasing numbers. This is the untold story.
Yano kokhari hade aba tsora hera to we nani mongwana ute mutire aba hita nake yano tuso make ha tuso ate yano tusa ikenge
Puta di those tse jama gapu ya tsama gapu ya khaula mabele ya le gore ke mabele ana di ako I jahela I jai segati mahela tuna iska go bo akona ke motho.
People in the enclave, you know, much depend on plowing and cattle rearing, whereby they even dig their wells, but unfortunately the elephants, because of the high population, mostly destroy 3/4 of the crops that the communities do plow around the Chobe enclave, and even go to an extent of destroying even the wells that they do use, to water their cattle. And it is sometimes to an extent of even killing even the people around the area. So this is a very high conflict. These elephants are highly destroying even the vegetation, whereby even some other animals. Our fear is that we might end up maybe having a desert around the Chobe enclave, just because these animals, the elephants, are highly destroying, the vegetation. And it is quite a very big concern for us as communities, because there's no way we can do, because obviously by now there is no way that we can have market for these elephants. And this is where our problem is as members of the community.
Many rural communities in the country live in areas alongside wildlife. Community-based natural resources management programs have allowed such communities to receive financial benefits from the sustainable use of wildlife through hunting and tourism, thereby convincing them to stop poaching and to protect the wildlife on their land. Through this approach, Botswana's wildlife has flourished.
We have lived alongside natural resources with the understanding that we can benefit from them, and therefore it was important that we conserved. And because of that, since 1966, when we got independence today, we have conserved especially the elephant, and the populations have grown. In the 80s, early 80s, populations of elephants were around the 60,000 mark. Today, in 2006, we talk of in excess of 150,000. This purely speaks to our conservation efforts that this country and Botswana have had obviously to endure.
up a proposal to be allowed to trade in ivory. The proposal was actually approved with certain conditions. To date, Botswana has not been able to sell that ivory because the monitoring illegal killing of elephants, that is MIC, has not yet reported fully to the CITES Secretariat. And we are hoping that before the Conference of Parties, we will be able to sell our ivory. Storing ivory is a very expensive venture for the government. And not only that, it is also costly to be able to conserve elephants. That being the case, it is important that as a country, we can actually be able to generate some revenues from elephant products, especially ivory. That is why it is imperative and very important for the government to be able to put up a proposal. That is why on the 14th Conference of Parties that will be held in The Hague in the Netherlands, Botswana has put up a proposal to be allowed to trade in ivory.
Now, trade and value for a species is never wrong if it tells people who are living in poverty that there are important choices to make and that this species' continued survival can benefit them. And that's a reality in a continent besieged with famine and poverty. Does it work to say your success means our failure? Well, if that were the case, then we would tell all businesses that are highly successful that they're still poor people, so they should shut down. That's not the case. We need to look at what's worked here. We need to help other African countries to model after that, so that what we see in Southern Africa can be replicated to other localities. That is a success story. That is the way forward. We link the resource with the people into a co-management framework so that there's a future for both the people who live with the resource and the elephants that are dependent on the people for their continued survival.
Botswana is a party to the Convention on Biodiversity. Botswana subscribes to the principle of sustainable utilization of renewable natural resources. To that effect, we have the community-based natural resource management program that encourages conservation through poverty alleviation. We therefore urge you to support conservation for the good of rural communities of Africa. We urge you to support the supply of legal ivory into existing markets. Be part of the solution and not the problem. Support Botswana's proposal.